This is a virtual reading of Conspirators, To Each His Own Agenda by Matt Gupta.
Chapter 47. The Marble City. Decimus was cradling Rufus in his arm, dangling a wooden star on a string just out of reach of his tiny hands. He was growing into quite a big child already, but still small enough to fit into one of Decimus's arms. Callisto was having her hair brushed by one of her servants. An unrolled scroll was lying on the table next to her. News had been slow, as it always was in times of war, so she had only just heard of Julius's refusal to join them. What had infuriated her more, however, was the news that Alistair had yet to choose his heir. By law, it should pass to her older sister, but in Callisto's mind, she was the Princess of Seaward. Her sister had done nothing for the city or the family. She had given up everything for her father's ambition, and that should be recognized. Her heart had broken when she had read that Julius had abandoned the cause, and she had wept for days. But her heart had lifted when the day came for the invasion. Decimus wasn't as glad as she was, but he was excited about the advancement of the plan. He had made a point of telling Rufus every part of the plan, and how he was going to be ruler of the city after Alistair, and what his reasons were for joining him. It was clear Rufus had no idea what was being said to him, but he seemed to like the sound of his father's voice. The city had been filled with motion for days now, and the noise of it was starting to echo through the open windows. "They've started again," Callisto informed the room in annoyance. "Shall we go see the soldiers?" Decimus cooed to Rufus, ignoring his wife's complaints. Rufus smiled, either with gas or glee, it was hard to tell. Decimus laughed and carried him to the window. In every street, so that every part of the city was covered, a company of soldiers were marching back and forth. The citizens were giving them a wide berth as they passed. Martial law was in effect, so trading had stopped, and the stragglers were those who had nowhere to go and were simply moving to keep out of the way. Ignatius had appointed himself as the next consul as well as dictator. It didn't provide him with any powers he did not already have, but it meant that the defense of the city fell on his shoulders. A rider hurried along the south road and through the gate. He made his way through the streets, through 2 patrols, one literally, and towards the citadel. Decimus counted under his breath, all the way to 106 before a knock on the door drew him away from the window. "My Lord Decimus." "Yes?" "Your father requests your immediate presence, my lord." "Some things never change," Decimus sighed. Rufus let out a grunt and swung his tiny fist in the air. "I know. I completely agree." He gave Rufus to Callisto and donned his cloak. "Let us away then," he commanded the man at the door. They went down the stairs of the citadel and through a lengthy hallway to the throne room. It was different than when Felthor had been there. The space in front of the throne had been filled with desks that had papers upon papers on them, from maps to troop deployments. Every citadel official in the city was there, but instead of the white robe-like togas, they were clad in red and black, with a single piece of brown leather over their chest. Each of them had a sword on their belts. It was to symbolize a time of emergency and war. In the past, it had been a symbol of hope and strength, but in this case, they looked ridiculous. Decimus didn't need to announce himself. "We've just had word," Ignatius informed him. "The harbour city is under siege. The first 2 walls have fallen, and the third is due to fall in a matter of days." Decimus didn't bother to hide his amusement at this. I suppose that's what happens when we leave our sister city to fend for itself for a week, and it guarded by soldiers loyal to Alistair's forces. Your gambit appears to have failed. Alistair's men would never have fought their own. Either way, he would be killing his own supporters. Ignatius protested. I paid those men to be loyal, thrice that of what any amount of friendship is worth. The governor of the city alone was a considerable investment, one of his advisers agreed. Yes, indeed, Ignatius flicked his hand, his eyes closed in thought. What was his name again? Corbulus, I believe. Dominus, the adviser bowed. Yes, Ignatius shook himself, his eyes distant. Anyway, he breathed deeply and then regained himself. There is no way they could have betrayed me. And yet they did. Decimus folded his arms. If the city falls, then Alistair will only be 3 days away. If he sets out straight away. Camervan calculated from a wax tablet. He was averting his eyes, like the others, to Ignatius's display of forgetfulness. If there's one thing I know about sieges, there will always be time spent on looting. Then we need to double our efforts on fortifying the city. We have the men now. We need to put them to work. Ignatius pulled up a map of the city. I want a double wooden palisade around the city walls, the gap between filled with caltrops and stakes. I want to make this city as defensible as possible. What of the crops in the harvest? Decimus protested. We will lose a major percentage of grain if we abandon it. I care not for the livelihood of a few farmers. Ignatius raised a hand to strike him, expecting him to be closer. Ready the fortifications and get them done. Decimus raised his arms in a great shrug. You don't seem too distraught by our situation, my son, Ignatius growled, his tone changing to one of suspicion. One would think you are with our adversary. I am here, aren't I? If I was with our enemy, why would I be here to suffer his wrath instead of delivering it myself? Unfortunately, that isn't enough to dispel any guilt. A group of Citadel guardsmen and mercenaries came in through the side doors. Arrest him. What? Decimus spluttered, as the guards seized him by the arms. Unhand me. You can't do this. I'm sorry, sir. Dervin, the new captain of the Citadel, grimaced as he smashed him across the face with the stave of his spear. The men dragged him out of the room without another word. Place guards on the seaward hall, Ignatius growled to the remaining guards. I will not see her arrested only because my grandson requires her breasts. Yes, my lord, Dervin nodded, and he sent the mercenaries out. Where do we stand on our troop numbers? Ignatius demanded. He began riffling through the papers on the desk. Camervan had the paper he was looking for to hand. We have 8 legions in the defense of the city. We were hoping for more from the bridge, but our messengers have not been returning. They would not be able to supply us with much anyway. The eastern front has long been left to rot. Felthor made too much of a display of trying to turn the city to his side, Ignatius excused. I would not let the city be restored under his banner. The ruins will not benefit him any more than us. Camervan could clearly sense this as a petty excuse, but he knew better than to speak up about it. Many nobles of Roma are failing to answer our summons. The majority of our force is comprised of the city garrison and the several thousand conscripts. 4 legions will be more than enough to defend the city, Ignatius said, with absolute certainty. The walls stand 80 feet high, and they are of pure marble, not the shit limestone of the other cities. When was the last time you fought, my lord? Dervin asked, in a bored voice. Ignatius growled. War is men killing other men. It is what the base animals of my kingdom do. Better men kill the lesser ones, Dervin corrected. You may have lots of men and your high walls to even the odds, But these are raw men, with no training or loyalty, just like those who surrendered at the harbour. The legends only work with real men doing the legwork, not children. We have the Fountain Legion, Ignatius smirked. No force can stand against them. The Legion has allied with Alistair's lineage before, Camervan advised. They may be allied with him now. No, Ignatius snapped, snatching a paper off the desk. Alistair attempted to coup them into his pocket already, and they refused to stand in defense of the city. It would be a sight to see all of Alistair's knights break themselves on the Fountain Phalanx line. Just because they did not side with Alistair does not mean they will fight with us now. If Alistair offers them peace, then they will most likely stand down. At that moment, another Citadel guardsman came rushing into the hall. "My lords," he panted as he skidded to a halt before them. "How dare you enter this chamber unannounced?" Ignatius shouted. "Come to the wall quickly." The man ignored Ignatius's indignation. "The villain has fallen. An army is marching on the city." "What?" Camervan snapped. "Speak sense, man." "To the east," the guardsman panted. "An army out of Dacia and Roma. Too many soldiers to count." "Alistair," Camervan hissed. "No," Ignatius growled darkly. "Felthor, his army of rangers and peasants will not breach this city. His men are even more untrained than ours. It may not be Alistair, but Felthor is a general with twice his prowess on the field of battle." Camervan took a step back to avoid being in punching range. If anyone can take this city with an army of peasants, it would be him. Ignatius huffed. "He's no Prince of Seaward. Let us see his excuse for an army." The city was so large that by the time Ignatius and his retinue arrived at the wall, Felthor's army was already deep within the Willem allotments. The army had begun to disperse to the north to surround the city. Ignatius turned to Dervin. 6 legions, Dervin observed. So far anyway. Hardly the 13 legions of legend then. "There are still others on the way," Dervin pointed to the horizon. His eyes widened. "The general's been busy." He nodded in appreciation at the sight of the 4 full batteries of trebuchet catapults that were being pulled by entire companies of horses and pushed from behind by an equal number of men. "The man has balls." "The man is insane," Camervan contradicted. "How can he hope to take this city with only these troops? The Fountain Legion, along with our cavalry companies, will make quick work of them. I say, attack them now." "I agree," another politician muttered. There was a call of agreement. "Attack them with what?" Dorvin laughed. "It will take until midday to organize the knights into attack formation, and the Fountain Legion has done nothing to prepare for this battle. He has entered the Willem under arms to wage war," Ignatius spat. "The sacrilegious shit. I'll kill him myself. You will not stand in my way. Ready the Citadel Guard for battle." "Which ones?" This had taken him off guard. The Citadel Guardsmen were bodyguards, not soldiers. "All of them," Ignatius shouted. "We are not soldiers for your war," Dervin argued. Ignatius struck him. His helmet took the blow so he wasn't harmed, but he made a dramatic show of being knocked down, as was customary for a bodyguard. "You will be what I pay you to be. Get your men ready before I throw you from the wall." Dervin looked like he would argue. His captain had already turned traitor, so why not him? But he had to think of his men and the type of leadership he would leave them with. A simple lackey of Ignatius. So he struggled to his feet, bowed and left. When he was out of sight, he turned and spat, swearing an oath of vengeance. Camervan pointed at the forefront of the army. "My lord, look." 6 horsemen had advanced ahead of the infantry column. One was bearing a flag of parley. Camervan raised an eyebrow. "Parley would buy us time," he offered. correctly assuming Ignatius would object. Bleh! Ignatius spat aloud, quite uncharacteristically. He scowled for a moment, scratching at his temple, which was red raw from his previous efforts. Very well, he barked. Prepare a list of charges. I want them arrested as soon as you find out what they want. Me? Kamirvan stuttered. Why me? Oh, how I tire of lesser men questioning me. Ignatius closed his eyes against the irritation. Go because I command it, and pray I won't have you arrested when you return. Gilon's arms were tired from waving the flag, but finally the immense gates opened and Kamirvan rode out with a retinue of citadel guardsmen. Falthor smirked to Turgon. Ignatius sends his errand boy, Turgon spat. That's Lord Errand Boy, Falthor said in mock condescension. Let us call him what he is, Turgon smirked back. They jogged the horses forward slightly. My Lord Falthor, Kamirvan greeted politely. My Lord Kamirvan, Falthor inclined his head in return. Where is your dictator? At the wall, Kamirvan gestured behind him. I can tell you, General, he intends no surrender. He has compiled a list of charges for you, expecting you to come quietly. Quietly is far from our thoughts, Turgon grunted. You are aware of the sound that tens of thousands of men marching sounds like, I trust. It's almost as loud as when they fuck. You may outnumber the city defenders, Kamirvan provoked, but not by much. This is the Marble City. The walls are the highest and strongest in all the world. If you take this city, then your army will be ended upon it. If you surrender, only you and your commanders need die. Turgon laughed. Just us. You would not allow all these traitors to exist on your doorstep. Do not take us for fools. We fight, or you will kill us all. Better to die with a sword in your hand and some bastard's blood hot upon it. We are not here to listen to any terms of surrender, Falthor agreed, his tone calm and soothing to equal Turgon's harshness. Lest it be yours, and you have already decreed that it is something not to be. You may have men and defenses that can meet us, but you have few warriors and even fewer commanders. How many of your men will stand firm when our bombardment begins? They will stand and fight because you are here to kill them, Kamirvan countered, coolly. Perhaps, Turgon taunted. The soldiers might. You are right on that front. Ignatius is the one paying them and threatening them with death if they desert. But what of the people? The women who want their children to be safe? The men who would fight with us if they could? It only takes one of them to open the gates. Between us and Ignatius, who do you think they'll side with? The people will face worse punishments if they do. Kamirvan shook his head. Even if they have doubts, the people will soon realize who is causing their suffering. Even the most loyal will eventually turn on you. Will they? Falthor smiled. We shall see. War will begin, my lord. Prepare yourself. Kamirvan sighed disappointedly. I had hoped you would see reason. He looked at the army, seeing the different banners. Islesfield was visible on all points, but the lesser banners were of the noble houses that had joined them. The most notable amongst them was House Stormworth. I expected better from Lord Stormworth. He was a man of vision. He's a man of corruption and decadence, Turgon spat. Everything that your faction is. Falthor cast him a disapproving look, but Turgon ignored it. Prepare yourself and make peace with your fathers, because we're coming for you, all of us. Kamirvan was evidently intimidated by this, but he managed to maintain his composure. Take this to your lord, Falthor threw Kamirvan a scroll. What is it? Our declaration of war, Falthor answered. At least now you can't say we didn't fill out the right paperwork, Turgon smirked. Kamirvan looked at the scroll with disdain, and then bowed to Falthor. He turned his horse and galloped back to the safety of the walls. Falthor's retinue watched him leave, but it wasn't until the gates had opened and closed that Falthor spoke. "Stormworth is a creature of distaste and we all hate him," he said directly to Turgon. "But he is our ally in this. Do not talk ill of our allies in front of our enemies. It makes us look weak." Turgon had the grace to realize his mistake and not retort. "Yes, sir," he nodded. "My mistake." "Let us go." Falthor took this as an apology. He turned to Gilorn. "Have you ever seen a siege before?" "No, sir," Gilorn shook his head. "I only took part in the final battle against the Golden King." "Get yourself an early night," Falthor ordered as he rode off. "By the time this is over, you'll be begging for sleep and a calm night," he called back over his shoulder. Gilorn watched him leave before he spoke. "What's the worst part?" he asked Turgon. "The screams," Turgon nodded thoughtfully. "Somehow, they never stop. There are nearly 1 million people in that city. We're in for a song of death tonight."